episode 9 of the Mike Spot Podcast. I'm Chris, senior producer and lead designer of 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Josh, quality assurance and associate designer for 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Aaron, narrative designer for 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
All right, guys. Normally we save the best for last, but that's over with. Okay, so if you follow us on socials or you check your in-game inbox, you have probably seen by now that we revealed the title of the upcoming brand new game we've been working on, and that is Eras of Wrestling.
Woo. Mm-hmm.
And we are super stoked to finally be able to announce that with a fun little promo trailer. So yeah, now we can continue to do what we've been doing, which is to tell you guys all about the new stuff that's coming with the game and, give you as many details as we can. Of course, there's some stuff that we're still working on that will hold for future episodes and whatnot. But let's talk a little bit about, right off the bat, why Eras of Wrestling. So as mentioned before, Eras of Wrestling is going to bridge the gap between 80s Mania Returns and Modern Mania Wrestling. And that's to say that our years of coverage, our active years, will go back not only to the early 80s, but even back into the 70s, okay? And then go beyond 1999 into the 2000s. Mm-hmm. So when we were looking at how to handle this, like the active years thing with the new game, we initially started plotting it out like 1975 through 2005, something like that. And then as things progressed and as we thought about it more and more, we essentially realized that it's less about specific years and decades and more about the eras of wrestling themselves. The way that entire time frame kind of breaks down into distinctive eras. So instead of having like 4 decades in Eras of Wrestling, we actually have 5 different eras. And that's to say a wrestler will be active in maybe just one era, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. I don't know. Are there any guys in all 5 eras?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
That I know of off the top of my head.
So there you go. And I'll tell you what we are thinking for these 5 eras. And we named them, and they got their own sort of unique style and look appropriate to that time period. So we start in kind of the 70s, early 80s, and we call that the Territories era. Then we've got our mid to late 80s as the Mania era. Then we got our very late 80s, early 90s, and we're calling that the Next Gen era. And then, of course, you get to your sort of mid-late 90s, and that's the Extreme era. And then as you cross over past 2000, you got the Millennium era, right? So one more time, we've got Territories, Mania, Next Gen, Extreme, and Millennium. So it's going to be a really interesting new way to present the active years for our entire roster. And there's still going to be that fun experience, I think, with, the overlap. Like I said, some guys crossing over into different eras or their careers lasting through all the eras. And you'll see progression and regression sometimes. And we'll still have those fun ways for you to take a guy who might not be active in a future era, and bring him back with the Legends match or vice versa. So all that kind of fun crossover still exists, but this is going to be a really interesting way to present the landscape and timeline, and we're super excited about it.
Something I should probably add here at this point, I'm sure a lot of people are kind of wondering, with this new game coming out, what then is the fate of 80s Mania Wrestling Returns and Modern Mania Wrestling, especially with eras bridging that gap to modern and overlapping literally in terms of time coverage with 80s. Those 2 games will continue to exist. I mean, they're the ones that got us started into it, and we love them. We know a lot of people love them. It's why you're listening to this podcast. And so we would not dare to take such a thing away from you and ourselves. At the same time, we also have to make sure that we can give appropriate attention to all of the games, including the new one. We're not going to put out something new without it being the best thing that we can possibly make it. And so as such, with the release schedule for updates for 80s and Modern's going to remain the same for now. We usually give ourselves somewhere between 4 to 8 weeks for each update to create whatever new characters or features are going to be added into the game. 80s will be switching to a quarterly release. Again, in part, really to make sure that we're able to keep on updating that game while having the bandwidth amongst the team to handle modern and to handle eras as well.
And let me just speak a little bit about that quarter release schedule that will be happening for 80s. Now, that won't begin until we launch eras, okay? So from now until the point of launch of eras, 80s Mania Returns will remain in that sort of monthly, update schedule that we've been doing for years and years now. So don't expect anything to suddenly or drastically change just yet. But when we do get to the point of launching eras, that's when we'll switch to the quarterly release. And to be clear about the quarterly release for 80s Mania, it won't just be one guy. So you won't have to wait 3 months just to get, one card or one tag team or something. What we'll try to do, okay, is give you the same amount of content that you would have gotten over those 3 months, right? Yeah. So we'll look to have a pack, a quarterly release pack, let's say, of whether it be 3 singles or 2 guys and a lady, or a tag team and a lady and a guy, whatever it may be that you would have gotten over those 3 months will be packaged, but just the release will be a little less frequent, okay? Because we need time, like Aaron mentioned, to work on everything and give everything the proper amount of attention. So more news on that as we get closer to release of eras, but we wanted to mention the existing games right off the bat for anybody concerned.
Yeah, for sure. And, speaking on new and kind of making this new game kind of the central focus of this podcast, this episode, I kind of wanted to recap the stuff that we have, in case you missed it, the stuff that we have announced already for the new game. So new features, the brand new things that are coming to the game. First of all, it'll have all of the new modern features. So X Factors, custom feuds, custom teams, things like that will all make the 3.0 engine, will all be in Eras of Wrestling. We also talked about TV production, commentators, referees. The art for the commentators has already come in and they look fantastic. It's been a huge, amazing update to the game. So I'm so excited for you guys to see it. Same thing with referees. We're going to save some more news on exactly what the bonuses are, what the rules are for them until later, but just stay tuned for that. But it's really going to improve the customization of your shows. And also, we talked about player profiles. There's been a lot of curiosity, a lot of buzz, and we definitely want to get into that. But I think it's something that we're going to dedicate an even bigger section to another podcast episode on, because there's a lot to get into there. So we're still going to save some news on that for later. But just know that player profiles are going to be in the game, and you are going to have some customization options on there to show off. And I can't wait for you guys to see it. Speaking of customization, we talked about customizing your own tags, your own trios, your own stables, an expanded way. Also a title belt creator, where you can customize the look of the title, the name of the title, all kinds of stuff. So I talked about custom feuds. We're going to expand that. And we announced the official character artist, which is Rusty Shackles. Fantastic. He's done a lot of the recent art in 80s Mania, and just a great guy. I'm just excited for him to be like the standard artist for the characters, and it really creates a nice cohesion across the roster.
So we got our recap in there, stuff you guys, if you tune into every episode, and you've been following the news about the new game, that's stuff that you probably heard already, right? We wanted to recap that for those who didn't hear it yet. And I also wanted to give a little bit of new feature stuff, because every episode we've been trying to kind of reveal a little bit more. So I did want to talk about the new stuff coming in terms of matches. So we've got so much new stuff coming in terms of the capability to do different matches. And what I mean by that is we've got like match settings. That's to say we added a 4-way match and a 3-way tag match and a 4-way tag match and 2 out of 3 falls match. Right, so you can kind of pick any type of match. That's to say, use a match card like a cage match and do a 2 out of 3 falls, or a 4v4, or a 3-way tag, or whatever it may be. So you can do different match settings, and of course, apply all the match cards you own. Speaking of match cards, I think we added about 20 plus new special match cards. I mean, we try to cover any kind of match that happened more than a few times in real life wrestling over the years. We also tried to consider our in-game lore, what certain characters might bring as their version of a special match that you're familiar with. So be on the lookout for all sorts of just new match types and match settings in Eras of Wrestling. That's going to be a blast. One particular one we're super proud of and super excited about, because we've been testing like crazy on this one. We built this early and we've been testing it just to make sure it works, because it's super tricky. But inspired by we'll call it Millennium Era style of match, we've got a new match type called Punch Your Ticket Maybe Josh, maybe you can hop in and tell everybody a little bit about how Punch Your Ticket works in Eras of Wrestling.
Sure, yeah. So Punch Your Ticket is a new themed pay-for-view that we have in the game, to where it has qualifying matches, right? So you'll book the qualifying matches. The winner of each match will advance to a special 6-way match, and the winner of that match gets a ticket. So kind of references some other matches that happen in the Millennium style, where you get a reward for winning a match and you can kind of cash that reward in. You can punch your ticket in. The way that it works is that if the champion is in a match, is in a mic spot, you can actually punch your ticket and they will be able to fight in a title match right then and there. And that match will either start brand new if you're in a mic spot, or it'll actually create a triple threat match if you cash in the middle of a match. So really, really cool stuff. It works great. It creates a lot of interesting kind of new experiences in this game. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to play through. So I'm excited for you guys to get your hands on it.
And there's so much more. I promise you, there is so much more that we've yet to even tease or explain or anything like that.
All right, so this is the biggest update we've had yet about Eras of Wrestling. I'm excited about it. I think as I'm listening to you guys talk and talking to myself, the big thing that keeps coming to mind is the idea of expanding the world. The years are expanding. The customization of titles and matches is expanding. Even the Fed itself, it's not just wrestlers now. We've got announcers, we've got referees. There's other people involved, and you're running the show with great customization. So that's very exciting. We have more exciting things that are already out that we need to talk about. So after the break, we'll be back to talk about the latest updates to modern Mania Wrestling and 80s Mania Wrestling.
1-900-456-1100 is like having a friend in the wrestling business. 1-900-456-1100, pro wrestling's hottest hotline. Daily reports on the superstars, wild characters, crazy events. 1-900-456-1100 for wrestling gossip, sizzling scandals, and inside secrets. $2 per call. 1-900-456-1100. Exciting ring action, a must for wrestling fans. $2 per call plus toll if any.
And we're back. All right, Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about our 80s Mania Returns updates since the last time we spoke?
I'll start with the newest thing first, which was that we just dropped El Manto Blanco.
Mi camino es sagrado.
Yes, the white mantle.
That's right.
This one I'm very excited about. The art is just so good, guys. If you haven't seen that art yet.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it so much.
Yeah.
One of those ones where the simplicity really makes it that much better.
Absolutely. Yeah, the simplicity of it and just like those little details really make it shine. So yeah, a couple of feuds came in with him, and with Eras of Wrestling just around the corner, be prepared for one of his rivals to kind of show up and maybe haunt the Fed a little bit. So keep an eye out for him. We also had another update. Someone that I'm very personally proud of is Night Warden.
Right.
So Park Warden in the 90s, he's a personal favorite of mine, honestly. So, and it creates a new tag team, the Wardens, a great tag team, iconic tag team for me in the 90s. So, and not to mention 17 new feuds in one update, guys. If you haven't found those yet, I'm not going to spoil them for you here, but if you're looking for some help, make sure to join that Discord. I noticed a lot of them have been found in there. So tag feuds, singles feuds, kind of spread out amongst them all. So
we had the men's, we had the ladies, we had all up and down the card.
Yep.
And not only that, but some of that we got a little bit of inspiration from you guys on. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I know we put the word out. What feuds would you like to see join the game? And we absolutely considered those as we plotted out how to do this.
Matter of fact, that's a perfect segue to shout out all of the people who responded to our inquiry about what you wanted to see with the feuds. Because when I tell you we got dozens and dozens of feuds that we wanted to do, and we just kind of had to pick and stop, cut ourselves off at some point. But thanks to everybody who sort of replied to that and listed out whether you just gave us one idea or some of these posts gave us 15 options and you named them and you explained why they should feud. I mean, really, we appreciate with the community, the direct interaction and the ideas and the creativity and just like the positive vibes that come off of us asking those types of questions. We really feel like we have the best community out there. And whatever part of the community you're a part of, we appreciate you very much. So shout out to everyone out there listening and anyone who's hyped for the new games or the existing games. We appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
All right, and I think that's all for 80s. Aaron, are you ready for some Modern Mania updates?
So we had a big one, a big update, literally. We had the debut in Modern Mania of
Flash Bison.
He's big, he's chiseled, he's fast, and I'm pretty sure he is just wreaking havoc on a lot of people's rosters right now. We're very excited to get Flash in the game. He's a guy we've been working on for a minute, although to be honest, a lot of his plan came together very quickly and we just kind of had to fine-tune a couple of details. I love how he turned out. I think players are really going to like him. He's got a presence to him. He's got a couple of little subtle nods to some past characters that I think are a lot of fun. He's got feuds with some of the biggest and most athletic guys in the game, including Gridiron and Abe Buckingham. And not only that, but he caused a bit of a domino effect, as you've probably noticed that a lot of new modern ads do, wherein a couple of other characters got a little tiny glow up as well to complement his addition to the game. One of those is Scuzz Bucket. Scuzz is one of those guys who has literally been around since this game launched, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm always happy whenever we can add another dimension to an existing character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Scuzz, as fun as he has been largely operating out of one dimension the whole time as his kind of, wacky stuntman dude.
Yep.
And so while he still definitely is that, I feel like he, with the slight rework that we gave to his C alt, that also enables a team and a feud with Flash, again, adds a new dimension to him. He's got some sweet new art, new look. Man grew a little bit of Scuzz fuzz on his chin, and he's doing all right. So we're real happy to see that. Another pair of guys that just a little teeny tiny tweak. We noticed that I would even call this one more of not an oversight per se, but hey, why not? And that is,
right.
Yeah, pairing up another version of the Gauge guys. The Gauge guys are OGs, literally pulled over from 80s. They have been part of this world for a very long time, and we realized, why are they not having multiple different teams that you can kind of work with in Modern? And so nothing really was done to the characters. Some very observant players noticed that Pod God got a little bit of a color shift on one of his alts, largely just so that he looked that much better next to his brother. And so these guys got a very minor touch-up and a little more fun to play with the second teamed version of the Gauge guys within the game. After that, there were a couple more, a little more significant reworks where we kind of revisited both the art and sort of even the persona of a couple of alts. And these are characters that we've seen people talking about for a very long time, kind of wondering if and when this would ever happen. And so you give the people what they want, and we kind of wanted it as well. So Pink Satin and Destiny, their C&D alts both got a nice little rework. You'll see them. They're a little more bright and colorful now. You can tell that these characters are, I don't know, how shall we say, gaining in confidence in themselves. And as they've worked their way up through the world. But they've got some additional teams and feuds that didn't exist before. And so everybody got a nice little boost. And those two were definitely overdue. They've been staples in the ladies division for a long time. And so again, it's something we enjoyed doing that. Refreshing existing things to, again, I think I said it in a previous episode, keep modern as we can.
Yeah, I like that. Plus, I think, Pink and Destiny have such a place in Modern Mania. I don't know about for you guys, but for me, they're such core pieces of the puzzle in Modern. So giving them kind of these nice new C&D alts really opens up a lot of gameplay for me. So it was really nice to see those updates.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. And I think for our final segment, our March Mania Tournament, it's coming up. Chris, why don't you take it away?
Right on. So this year's theme, guys, we're doing one singular tournament, and we're calling it the March Mania Crossover Tournament. So we're taking the brackets and blowing them back up to 64, as opposed to the last few years where we were doing a 32 person tournament in each of our two games. We've got one big old tournament this year with 64 participants, half of which are from 80s Mania Returns, the other half of which are from Modern Mania GM. And of course, this crossover theme is in honor, in celebration of the Eras of Wrestling hype season. So we had to do it. So this tournament's going to crown one ultimate winner, as usual. What's a little bit different this time is the tournament, not only the winner, but, as you guys know from previous years, we take inspiration from wrestlers who do really well. They might not make it all the way, but we notice, oh man, the players are really voting for this guy or really hyped about that guy. So anyway, this tournament this year is going to inspire new cards, not only for 80s Mania, not only for Modern Mania, but for Eras of Wrestling as well. Okay, so we're going to have our eyes on all the stuff that happens in this crossover tournament, and we're going to be inspired to create at least one new card for each of the 3 games now. And truth be told, we are so busy building Eras of Wrestling that this year we thought, you know what? Let's just run one tournament, okay? Let's save ourselves a little bit of time, right? Because we're working hard. I promise you guys we're working hard. So this one big crossover tournament is going to be super fun. Stay tuned and definitely vote, right? Stay tuned to our socials. You'll see the brackets. You'll see the voting. And let's have fun like we always do every March.
That's right.
Yeah, I think one thing to consider here is if you're a Modern Mania fan, this is your chance to root for Modern Mania. If you're an 80s guy,
it's a good point.
This is your chance to really go hard for your 80s people. So
yeah,
this is the moment. This is the war between the two. So this is the chance.
Right.
It's a big moment.
And no matter what, I mean, when you guys see the brackets, and by the time you're hearing this, I don't believe you will have seen the brackets yet, or you might, but when you do see the way the brackets are set up, it will be 80s on one side and Modern on another, which means ultimately the final match will be, a character from one game versus a character from the other game. So yeah, let's see what you got. All right, well listen, enough talking. I mean, really, how much more could we say? Okay, enough talking. Let's get back to playing.
That's right, I just started a new game in 80s, so until next time, we hope you have fun playing too. And as always,
if you're down for more mic spots and new games,
stay tuned.
Are you a fan of Checkmate creative content? The most impactful way to show your support is by leaving our games 5-star ratings on Google Play and the App Store. That ensures we keep making more of the content you love and games you want to play. Following both 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling on Instagram, X, and Facebook is the best way to stay up to date with our latest news and character reveals. We invite you to share any and all feedback about your playing experience directly with us at support@80smaniawrestling.com or support@modernmaniawrestling.com.
This has been a Checkmate Creative production.